Hi guys! Have you ever watched a video and felt like the subtitles sounded too unbelievable to be true? Sentences that at first glance seem like fan edits, but upon further investigation turn out to actually be spoken live on camera. This phenomenon has kept many BTS fans coming back for years to discuss the dynamic between Taehyung and Jungkook. The deeper people delve into the original source, the more moments that raise new questions. Not because there are definitive answers, but because so many of their interactions seem almost unbelievable at first glance. One of the most talked about examples is when Jungkook once referred to himself as part of Taekook, explaining that the name was a combination of his and Taehyung's names. To some, the statement seemed simple, but to many fans, the moment felt unique because it referred to something that never officially existed as a unit or subgroup. It was as if a term that had previously existed only among fans had suddenly emerged from the mouth of one of the people who were part of that name. From here, curiosity grew, leading many to collect fragments of other moments they deemed equally interesting. Then there was an interaction that is still frequently replayed. When Taehyung introduced Jungkook simply as a friend, the reaction was not what many expected. Jungkook seemed dissatisfied with the term and openly questioned why he was only being introduced as a friend. He even requested a more appropriate introduction. The atmosphere was awkward yet captivating. Taehyung appeared to try to stop the conversation by whispering to Jungkook not to continue before finally lowering his head with a shy smile. This spontaneous reaction created a moment so memorable that years later it remains a topic of discussion among fans. The same concern arose again when a live broadcast showed a conversation that was later translated as saying they can't be friends. Many initially thought the sentence was simply a mistranslation. But when the official translation confirmed the same meaning, curiosity intensified. The meeting of eyes, the small smiles that appeared in the conversation, and Taehyung's occasional glances at the camera created an atmosphere that was difficult to describe in words. There was no lengthy statement, no detailed explanation, but the simplicity of the moment is what makes it so memorable to this day. In 2018, another incident added to the list of moments considered special by fans. While Jungkook was spending time with Yoontan, Taehyung's attention seemed to be constantly drawn to him. Not long after a letter Taehyung wrote to Jungkook was published. In the letter, Taehyung asked how Jungkook was doing and wished him a happy birthday, describing how Jungkook was busy playing with Yoontan, but the most talked about part wasn't his birthday greeting. Many people instead remembered another sentence Taehyung had written when he said his eyes were always on Jungkook, and then concluded with a clearly written expression of affection. A simple sentence, yet powerful enough to be remembered for years. When the BTS members were asked to reveal Taehyung's hidden charms that others rarely know, Jungkook's answer again drew attention. Instead of talking about his personality or funny habits, Jungkook wrote that Taehyung looked especially handsome when he wasn't thinking about anything. Amidst the many other more common compliments, this comment felt different. As if without realizing it, Jungkook once again chose to highlight Taehyung's handsomeness, something he has done frequently on various occasions over the years. There was also a moment that struck many fans as particularly warm. Initially just intending to greet children walking down the street, Taehyung instead referred to Jungkook as part of his family. The phrase came out briefly and naturally, yet it left a lasting impression. To some, the words might seem trivial, but to those who have followed their journey over the years, the mention felt incredibly meaningful. This was especially true when Jungkook later wrote a dedication, stating that Taehyung had exceeded all his expectations. The statement brought a wide smile to Taehyung's face while the other members praised Jungkook's words as one of the most beautiful dedications they had ever heard. Entering the winter album era of 2021, fans were treated to another emotional moment. While listening to the recorded messages they had made for each other, Taehyung appeared so shy he could barely look at anyone. In the recording, he said that he thought Jungkook had the best voice he had ever heard in his life. Meanwhile, Jungkook seemed to be trying to hide his feelings when he heard those words. There was no overreaction. There were no tears or long statements. But it was precisely this simple sincerity that made the moment so touching. One of the most speculated incidents occurred during the Winter Album event in 2019. While writing something in Taehyung's diary, Jungkook chose to copy a section of lyrics from Kim Dong-ryul's song, Like a Child. The lyrics speak of a person feeling hopeless after their love has been accepted. When Taehyung realized what Jungkook was writing, his reaction immediately changed. He appeared shocked and tried to remove himself from the situation. Although no further explanation was given, the expression that occurred at that moment became one of the most discussed scenes due to its strong emotional impact. The following year brought another surprise. When a fan asked on Weverse about Jungkook's whereabouts, who had been absent for a while, Taehyung suddenly replied that Jungkook was sleeping next to him. The short answer immediately became a major topic of conversation. Many questioned the context, while Jungkook himself offered no further clarification. Precisely because there was no further explanation, the moment became even more frequently discussed by fans. On the other hand, there was a lighter, but no less interesting moment. During a live broadcast, a fan commented that Taehyung was very handsome. Instead of simply nodding or giving a short reply, Jungkook took a long time to explain why he agreed with the statement. He said that Taehyung was attractive from every angle, always looked amazing in photos, and that he had been unconsciously looking at his face several times. What started as a simple comment turned into a lengthy explanation that showed how much he admired Taehyung's appearance. Another unique moment occurred when the BTS members were asked to name their favorite thing about the person in front of them. Jungkook said he liked Taehyung's innocence. In turn, Taehyung replied that he liked the mole under Jungkook's lip because it inspired him. This answer immediately piqued Jungkook's curiosity, who then asked what kind of inspiration he was referring to. However, instead of explaining, Taehyung suddenly fell silent and simply raised his hand in an embarrassed expression. This reaction immediately made the other members laugh because the situation felt so unexpected. Behind all the jokes and lighthearted moments, there was one statement by Jungkook that perhaps best describes their relationship. From his own perspective, he once admitted that Taehyung was one of the people who helped him become more open. Jungkook explained that he used to be much quieter and more introverted than he is now. However, thanks to Taehyung's continued support over the years, he gradually became someone who was more comfortable expressing himself. For Jungkook, this change wasn't something that just happened, but rather the result of the presence of someone who always supported and cared for him. And perhaps that's why so many of their moments remain memorable to this day. Some might see them as ordinary interactions. Others see it as evidence of an extraordinary closeness. But whatever your perspective, one thing is undeniable. Many of their publicly documented words and actions often seem too incredible to believe at first. Then, when people go back and check the original sources, they realize that these moments really did happen. Perhaps that's what makes Taehyung and Jungkook's story a perennial topic. And like any story that leaves so many questions, there's always a reason to come back for the next chapter.